Hey, two. Hey, one. Hey, two. Hey, three. Hey, four. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho. Everybody get up. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho. Everybody get up. Everybody get up. I said, everybody get up. Everybody get up.
Hey, Rav'n.
How you doing, LaDios?
I am, what I'd say, day 16 into Ramadan Mubarak. And, buenos tardes.
Yeah,
What's up?
Yeah, welcome to another episode of Actors from the Dark Side. Hope all our viewers are doing well. Yeah, this week we have a review for you. Pretty excited about this material. Do you want to introduce what we'll be reviewing today?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to say that Rav'n has been talking about this movie like 2 weeks before it came on Netflix. And I finally got to watch it. Because she was like, did you watch it? Did you watch it? It's really good. It's really good. And I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. But it was an excellent movie, and it's called All Day and a Night.
Yes,
All Day and a
absolutely gritty. It's under the genre of maybe like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society.
Yes.
Very gritty tale
But
of
better.
being black in America and kind of some of the traps that land people in incarceration. And sometimes people sit and say, well, why do they do what they do, or how do they end up in this cycle? And this tale is a very good exploration into one person's life and the struggles with kind of generational oppression, if you will. You know,
Yeah.
it was hard hitting.
Yeah, it was very hard hitting. Well, first I want to say, who did you say the director was? Who did we say?
Wasn't it Jeffrey Wright?
No, that's
No.
one of the actors.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We'll get to the actors.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember off the
Okay.
top of my head who the director
We'll see
was.
if we can get our producer to get the director, the name of the director
Yeah.
and the producer. But excellent movie. There's three characters. The main characters is Jeffrey Wright, who plays the father, and his name is JD in there. The main character is Jakor. His name is Ashton Sanders,
Yes.
and then his supporting actor, or he might have been another lead, probably, I guess. But I would say he would be the supporting lead actor, Isaiah John TK. So Jakor, I did his name is Ashton Saunders, who plays Jakor. I did a little research. He was in a couple of movies that I've seen. Moonlight. He was a lot younger, because I kept saying, I've seen this guy, but I can't grasp him. Boy, he got some pretty teeth. I mean, every time I seen that chocolate skin and he just smiled, I was like, God bless America.
Well, you know, the cinematography in Moonlight and this movie were very similar. Sorry, that just made me think of
You
that.
know what?
Yeah,
That's
you
true.
know?
And we're going to talk about the cinematography. He was also, of course, in All Day and a Night. The Equalizer, too. Now, I did watch The Equalizer because I am a straight Denzel Washington fan, but I don't remember seeing him in there. So I might have to go back again and check it out. And then he was in Captive State. It was a movie in 2017, but I did not see that one.
I did not see that one either.
Now TQ, who plays the supporting actor in the show, that plays his friend, supposedly his friend. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert! If you have not seen the movie, do not watch this review.
Yeah, we might give some things away.
Yes. So TQ is Isaiah John. Now I've seen him. The first time I seen him was in Snowfall. That's an FX series. Or do you watch that?
I've watched a few episodes. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, really
I
good.
love that. Now you know the lead character in there. He's British.
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't either until, Mr. King told me, and I was like, what? So I pulled him up and did an interview.
Sure.
He's British.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when he was talking...
Good dialect work, yeah.
Yeah, he did some great dialect work. Great dialect work. So he's in Snowfall. He plays Leon Simmons. And then Downsize, his character was Mike Jr. And then he was in Barbershop 3, The Next Cut. And he was just, I guess, the gang member, which kind of suits his character.
Sure.
And then, of course, All Day and a Night currently. Now, and then one of the well-known actors in there, Jeffrey Wright, who plays the father. His character's named JD.
Big fan, yeah.
Are you really?
I am. I'm a big fan of Westworld. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I was
there you go.
Notified and, buzzed about this one. Because,
We did watch, I watched, 1.5 season of Westworld.
Okay.
It's pretty heavy for me.
It is. It gets
sometimes,
complicated.
Yeah, and you can get lost. You were like, is this real?
Yeah.
Is this happening? Now wait, what's this?
But I have a friend that I watch it with, and we'll try to talk about it afterwards. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I watched. I can't talk to you about this. So yeah, I enjoyed what I saw. That's as far.
It is. It's very intriguing. But Jeffrey Wright is known. He's been in Batman in the 2021. Oh, he's going to be in Batman. He's going to play James Gordon.
Oh,
that's interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, he's in the James Bond.
Gordon, I can see that.
No Time to Die in 2020. He was in Quantum of Solace, 2008. Casino Royale. Okay, remember that. 2006. He played Felix Leiter. The French Dispatch. 2020. I have to see that one. He plays Roebuck Wright. Westworld, Bernard Lowe. He's in seasons 2016 to currently 2020 and 28 episodes. Cadillac Records, I remember him in there.
Okay.
Muddy Waters, he plays Muddy Waters. The Hunger Games, I've never watched The Hunger Games. Have you watched that?
I've watched The Hunger Games. I can't remember that I
seen him in there?
Yeah.
He was in 2003 to 15, and his character was BT. I don't know, because I remember. Boardwalk Empire. Now, I remember him in there. Valentine Narcisse.
Yes.
He was the, did you watch Boardwalk?
I did watch Boardwalk Empire.
I guess he was the
great.
one who was supposed to be upscale, high class.
Yes, he was kind of like Marcus.
Yeah.
Well, not Marcus Garvey, but trying to move people to the libertarian movement.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. I remember that.
And then Shaft,
Cool.
Peoples Hernandez
I
in
don't
2000.
remember that.
I do remember him in Shaft.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing is about Jeffrey Wright. He's very transparent, so he can play different races.
Yeah.
What do they call it?
Versatile.
What do they call it? Ethnic ambiguous.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's cool.
Yes.
All right, so these are the characters. So Jakar, who is the main character, when you open up the scene, Jakar is murdering Malcolm.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I mean, it starts out with this horrific murder.
Yeah.
And honestly, I remember I was on the edge of my seat throughout the rest of the movie saying why, which I thought was a great writing, right?
Yes.
You know, just okay, you're kind of questioning what happened here, and basically, you start off with him murdering someone, going to jail.
Yeah.
And then we go back.
Yeah, they go 8 months. Was it 8 months prior to the? Was it?
Well, first they go 13 months back, but before that
That's right.
they go all the way back to him being about 8.
Yes.
They start off saying he says something very prolific around the prison yard, and he says, "You don't realize that you're behind bar, or you don't realize all this time that you're kind of already behind bars. The bars just aren't there. You just can't see them." And then he's on his school yard, which is almost like the prison yard, sadly, with the assault that takes place there. And then we meet Jeffrey Wright, who equally assaults his son.
It's his dad. So Jeffrey Wright is JD. Now, one of the things is I have a great habit, but I love to find the title of the movie in the movie.
Yeah, me too.
And so, like a couple of minutes in, he says, "If you had all day and a night to tell about yourself, where would you be?"
Yeah, where would you begin?
And I thought that was really interesting. I was like, okay, so how does this title tie into the movie?
Absolutely.
So JD, he talks about his dad. He says his father was in jail 9 times by the time he was 6, and that his dad was light-skinned, but he made sure to let everybody know that he was a hardcore nigga. But his dad was constantly beating him.
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at that, and I heard that the thing that chimed in for me was light skin and hardcore, because this just reminded me of a couple of my friends who are light skinned, high bright or biracial, and how
Sure.
they had to struggle with trying to fit into the community.
Right.
And it seemed like maybe he was struggling with being a black man in America. You know,
Yes.
like not only a black man, but a light-skinned black man. I know that sounds kind of contradictory, but the fact that he mentioned that he was light-skinned, but he was like, yeah, but he wanted everybody to know he was the darkest nigga in the world, And I
Right.
thought that was hard. So he might have been struggling with who he was and trying to
Sure.
be right and, not living up to the expectations of what a father, a husband's supposed to be.
Sure, I mean that's a sad fact in America, especially the deeper you get into poverty, and even the further in time you go back, it's even worse because there is kind of a, how do I say it, not emasculating kind of thing, but there is an essence of that if you can't go and get a job and
Yep.
those kind of things. And then I think back further to the black men that were married to a woman that had to be a maid for a white family. And then the next thing you know, here comes this really light baby. And you still, because you knew she did it against her will, and that's how you kept your job, and you just sucked it up. So yeah, it really hit to that kind of struggle with a light-skinned man, and then we even see later on when Jakor's trying to provide that
Yeah.
he gets the door constantly slammed in his face in terms of getting a job, just constant, no, we don't have anything, we don't have anything kind of thing. So
Right.
I'm getting a little bit ahead of
Yeah.
the movie there, but yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, we're going to circle back to that. But this was one thing that he did to Jakor a lot was beat him a lot. A lot. And this was Jakor's first introduction to violence. He was saying how violence was all around him.
Yeah.
That's all he's seen.
You
And
get
even
used
his
to
mother
it.
was like, why do you beat him so much? And then he had said to Jakor, do I beat you too much? Did I hurt you? Jakor had to be all strong at 8 years old.
Say
Like, no.
And his justification is, this world is so tough, he's going to get his ass kicked out there, so he might as well learn how to take it in here.
Exactly.
And that was a lot of his justification for being such a hard man. Did it serve Jakor? I don't know.
I don't
right?
know.
Because at the end of the day, this tale's sad. It's just a sad tale,
Well,
right?
and then you definitely can be a product of your environment.
Absolutely.
But one thing I can say is I think, excuse me, can't drink water. Jeez. No, you're good. You're good. So I have a little tickle in my throat, but I can't drink water. Okay. So you guys forgive me. But anyway.
Indulge.
No, yes, please indulge. Yes, I'm strong. But I do think sometimes you could be a product of your environment. But I honestly think, because there was kind of like a flashback when he says, I don't want you to be like me.
Sure.
I want you to be better. I believe in you. And I think truly Jakor was trying to ride the snake straight and narrow, even though he was hanging around certain people. He was just associating with them, but it didn't make him a bad person. Like, it didn't make him like he was actually selling drugs or doing drugs, at the beginning. That's what you get.
Sure.
But, the violence can eat you up. I mean, and I think there was one scene where he was in the car and he was crying because it was just like, all I see is guns and, and I think there was something he said, I think it was kind of what he was saying, like, sometimes, they talk about being in prison, but they never talk about what we do when we're not really out. They always talk about people when they're in prison, but they never talk about what do we do when we're outside of the prison. You just be like, oh, so and so is in prison and so is in prison, and that's all you see. But they never talked about what you do when you're out, which leads to when he said, slavery tells black people to survive, but not how to live.
Sure.
Yeah, they are just trying to survive the everyday hustle and bustle.
Sure. And I mean, you can definitely say that in America, slavery never really went away. It just got rebranded, right?
Yeah.
And we're living in slavery 2.0. And so, there were a couple of times, a couple of scenes in the yard where they kind of, I think he says something like, all that I see are generations of fathers that were there and then disappeared, and uncles and brothers and all of these black men that just end up behind bars. And there are certain trappings in our society, whether you want to admit that they're there,
Yes.
i.e. unemployment, drugs, all those things that
Or
will land people in jail just by association. Because that is a lot of, where he was, in terms of not being the one dealing the drugs, but all of his associates are. And, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
That one part, being in jail, like, I want you to talk about the 2.0, like slavery is today 2.0. I want you to elaborate on that because because there's two things I seen when he worked in the store. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that was awful.
And then coming out of prison, you do your time. You're changed. Now some people do get rehabilitated.
Sure.
They come out. Let's elaborate on that. We don't want to. We want to kind of go deep on that because this movie is excellent. I really liked it. I like this better than Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society because it had a very good ending. In Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society, all you seen was death, and there was nothing. There was nothing. I mean, there's some drops of some things, but you don't see anything.
There were a lot of layers of why. The answers the
Yes,
why question that sits in why does somebody commit this kind of act of violence? Why would somebody do? And this movie provides a lot of those answers.
That's it.
Going back to the Slavery 2.0, that's basically just talking about the fact that, we abolished slavery after the Civil War, but then you started all of these laws with the Penal Code and put into our Constitution that, if you commit a crime, then you can be ward of the state, which is basically being a slave. And, that's what Jim Crow was. And if you look at today, I know I've been reeling from the death of Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, that's been all over the news this week. And,
that's just crazy. Talk about that, really.
Absolutely.
For people who don't know about Ahmaud Arbery.
Well, basically, a black man was hunted down in Georgia while jogging.
Yes, for nothing.
He was jogging.
Yep.
And was hunted down and videotaped.
And they said they can't find the people who did it.
I'm sorry, if they release this, to me they were bragging. Like you can think of a couple of different motives, but at the end of the day, these were organized murderers bragging about the fact that they could get away with killing an unprotected, underserved black man.
Yep.
And the fact is that we're living in Jim Crow 2.0, if you will, and I suggest everybody read Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. She lays it out.
Yes.
She just lays it out statistically, and it's I'm getting chills, and I want to cry thinking about the injustices that befall our people continually. And again, going back to the film, they do kind of just go into the fact that, for generations, certain people are trapped in the system, if you will, and it would take almost a miracle to pull that person out from having a grandfather and a father and, uncles
3 generations
and, everything else in jail because it affects you, having your family members stolen from you, and it breaks you. And that's the real heart of oppression. One of us gets unjustly murdered or thrown in jail, and the other 9 of us family members fall to depression and alcoholism because our hearts are so broken from the injustice that just befell us. So it's fucked up. That's all.
Yeah, and it is, and it's very sad because we both have young black men that have to navigate through this thing we call life.
Yeah,
and there's so many barriers for the black man that they have to struggle for. In one of the scenes, JD, again Jeffrey Wright, was in the car with him after he had a confrontation with Jacor's mother.
Yes.
Now, one thing I did like about this, the director, and I think this was a good choice, even though they were face to face, he didn't beat her. He didn't hit her. So there was no domestic violence. There might have been like a little bit of emotional abuse, but there was no physical. And I think that was a good choice for the director, that they did not promote domestic violence. Like he took his son. And now this was really interesting. Did you notice that he was drinking some vodka or whatever?
Oh yeah, and he let the little boy drink it with him.
Yeah, and I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
That was part of him growing up.
Yeah,
right?
and he was staying in the car. He's like, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to do what I can. I can't get food stamps because I'm in the house. I can't get support. How can a nigga get a one up if you don't help a nigga?
Right.
And so that is a justifiable cause, but I think that also can be an escapism that you're waiting for the government to help you to do better.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And
Sure.
and so I was kind of torn and teeter-tottered on the side. Like, yeah, I feel your pain, but that doesn't justify, because at the end of the day, he was doing drugs and...
Sure, but that is one of the things. Poverty is one of the things that
Yes.
lead people to self-medicate.
Yes.
Whether or not it's good or bad, because I know plenty of rich
Yes.
people that self-medicate.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
if they have justification to do it and they have everything,
Right.
including food to eat, well, what makes you think that somebody that doesn't have those things wouldn't fall into a state of depression and loneliness and despair
Right.
to the point that they need to self-medicate?
Right.
So, that was...
How did you...
It was a good choice, I think, on the director's part to spotlight that
the
part
struggles.
of... Yeah.
It's almost like we didn't get our
and
40 acres and a mule,
You
but
know.
you want us to get, you want us to, we can't get good
it's
jobs.
that whole
we
pull
can't-
yourself up
Yeah,
by your bootstraps, but
Yeah.
we ain't got no boots.
But and
You know,
we're
like-
not we
You
don't
give
have
us
any
no boots to put
we don't
on,
have
you know?
old money
Yeah,
to help
yeah.
us sound off and
Yeah.
build something for self,
We ain't got
and
no-
we don't have
yeah,
degrees. Some
yeah.
of us don't have degrees. I mean,
Sure.
they want us to do for ourselves.
Sure.
But yet they don't provide the resources for us to get.
and,
and then some people will say there are resources,
Right.
but the average person doesn't dig deep to go locate those resources.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to wrap up this little part of the segment. We're going to come back.
Yeah.
Part 2. Yeah.
Part 2.
All right.
Hey, ho, hey, ho. Everybody get up. Everybody get up.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last thing we want to do is for our camera to cut off like it did in our last episode, because we really want you guys to hear what we got here.
Absolutely.
So we were talking about the challenges of the black man navigating and self-medicating, and that was a good point. And I like
Sure.
the way you did the contrast between someone who's rich and everything,
Yeah.
versus someone who's poor. Also, we
Absolutely.
were talking about how we don't always have the resources to start off and build things.
Sure.
I mean,
I heard a great analogy one time. Somebody was talking about a coworker saying, basically, well, I don't want to give a black person a handout and this kind of thing. And it's like, we don't need a handout. We don't
Exactly.
need you to give us fish or teach us to fish. We just need you to give us access to the fucking lake. Because that's
Hello.
the truth of it, right?
Yes.
You cut off access to the black America in terms of education, healthcare, and opportunity. Period, point blank.
That's real. There's I went to a workshop prior to the COVID, and there's a nonprofit organization owned by black females, and she said, the problem is, here we are, I have a black organization, it's nonprofit, and when I go to get money for funders and donors, they're asking, why does it have to be a black, because,
Yeah,
why should I give it to a black company versus this company? She says, the problem is, you all have a head start, whereas we have to work twice as hard just to get funding to come in. So you're right. I mean, it's not like we don't want to do for ourselves. You guys don't give us the opportunities that, you guys make it. We have to jump through hoops and go through, navigate through, fences, swim and under the water. We're basically drowning.
Yeah. I had a friend that was watching this with me, and he's white, and he was like, these movies are out here. They explain the black story, et cetera, et cetera. So why do people act like they don't understand the struggles that the black man goes through? And I said, it's because they have the option to turn it off.
Exactly.
And, like in America, you have a million options. And at the end of the day, when one of these stories kind of comes up, I'll watch something that makes me feel better. Because watching this, it hurts.
It does hurt.
It wasn't a wonderful experience. Yes, all movies are cathartic. And I love that it made me think and it made me feel. But there were times when I was cringing. Some of the violence, I'm not into violence to begin with. So there were times when I was like, oh my God, you're hurting my heart. But you have to be aware of what's going on out there, and you have to know what people are going through, because that helps you have a heart and helps you be compassionate and empathetic to others. So, these things are important, and I really, really encourage everyone out there, if you have not seen All Day and a Night, please watch this film. It really is just eye-opening and hits on so many levels. what about the friendships? In like, wow, right?
That was
with
pretty
friends like
interesting.
these.
Who needs enemies? So yeah, so TQ,
Yes,
who's played by
TQ.
Isaiah John, and JD were hanging out and friends. So we thought.
Oh, JD was the dad.
I'm sorry.
T-Rex.
Yeah, so T-Rex.
Yeah.
What exactly was he? Another drug dealer? I didn't quite. Was he a producer? I wasn't
think
quite.
he was kind of a drug dealer. I think
Slash
him and
produce-
TQ were kind of the drug dealers, and not JD. Jakor was trying to get his music off the ground,
Yes.
so they might have been able to help finance.
Okay.
That might have been
was
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
because Stunna was the big time drug dealer that Jakor pretty much kind
He's
of
a really
became
good actor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So-
God. Wait, what was that thing? He was like, I want to know, or something.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
did that,
he's good.
And I just
He's
started
really
like,
good.
he's like,
He's got a great swag.
Yeah.
And,
And I love the gold tee, the plates.
Yeah.
Those were awesome. But Stunna, I don't know what the name of his actual name, but he was cool.
Yeah.
So there's this little triangle that ties in all the characters with TQ, Jakor, Stunna, and T-Rex. T-Rex, I think, was trying to fund Jakor. So his outlet was rapping.
yeah.
And I think he got that outlet because of his influence from his grandmother, which he mentions throughout the show, that his grandmother was a big, influence on him.
Yeah.
And of course, there was a dynamic that pushed back with his dad because his dad was like, he doesn't need to be believing in all that God stuff and that church
Right.
stuff. So, but it's always that balance. That grandmother's always there.
Yes.
It's so funny because the grandmother's always there.
Grandmas are so powerful.
But then you have these four men, and this is where you start to figure out the pivotal point of what's really happening here.
Yeah.
But all these four men, like we said, JQ, which I thought was Jakor's best friend, Stunna, the big time drug dealer, and T-Rex. Remember, T-Rex is kind of the antagonist.
yes.
Well, actually, he is.
He's very much an antagonist.
Remember how they were, he was asking him, hey, who's your girl?
Yeah, yeah.
And he was always doing something to really piss him off.
Sure.
And he didn't.
Yeah, when he played his music for him, he was like,
I can't.
I'm not feeling that. I can't feel that.
I can't get down.
Yeah.
Oh, but what about the part? What about the part when he was like, yeah, who's your girlfriend? And he says, I used to check with her, back in the day. She did all kinds of videos and stuff.
Yeah,
but
so then he shows her
an old video pre his girlfriend of, his girlfriend in the video with other guys, which, he did always something to antagonize him.
Yeah. And this is after the girlfriend's pregnant, of course. And, and doesn't say this is an old video, just like, hey, look at your girl, kind of thing.
And what I didn't get was, why did he do that? Of course, there was some type of dynamic.
He was obviously, he just was kind of jealous or, and I wonder, because going back to when they were all kids, could TQ have been the big kid that stole his thing?
Yeah.
Remember, there was that big, and I didn't, this is just something
TQ
I'm
was,
connecting
No,
the dots
TQ is
with.
Isaiah John. That's the one.
No, I'm talking about the little kids, when they were showing them as little kids.
Right.
And remember the very first scene when they were on the yard and he stole his little... Yeah, and then he came back and hit him with a brick.
Well,
I wonder if that
would have made me think that
because that kid was significantly bigger than the
But
rest
I don't
of
think
them,
that would have
so.
been TQ. I think that would
No,
have been
T-Rex.
Yeah, I think
thought
that
it
would have
was
been
T-Rex.
Yeah, that would have been
T-Rex.
T-Rex. That would have made sense.
And that would make sense that they had this childhood. I just put together those dots because I'm like, wait a minute, what if he was that
Yeah,
kid?
because I was like, why is he always antagonist? So that's the cool thing about watching movies is you're trying to tie in, like, why are they doing what they're doing?
Yeah, and this is really good because they do the introspective thing of going back in time and explaining it from different vantage points in time, which it does make it a little confusing for me. Sometimes I need the little caption of this is this time, blah blah blah, and they only gave us one of those. Like this was 13 months ago, and then there were times when I'm like, well, is this 13? Yeah. So
but you always knew when it was a flashback because it was showing him at 8 years old.
Yeah.
But it did throw you off. You're like, are we present? Are we back?
Yeah.
Are we present? Or are we back?
Exactly.
Yeah, and let's see what else. So yeah, so going forward, we have the two drug dealers.
Yeah.
Stunna, the one we really like.
Yeah.
Who is a great actor. We have to find out what his name is.
Yeah.
He's
Love
really
his
good.
grill. I've seen him in a couple of things. Yeah.
Maybe the grill was throwing me off, but he was an excellent actor.
Yeah.
And I liked him. And he said something to Jakor. He says, "Hey, you have a squeaky clean background. You don't do drugs. You don't sell drugs. You don't do anything." He was like, "I need someone like that. Someone like you on my team."
Yeah.
So this is the climax. So he was like, "Nah, I'm good. You know." He was like, "Well, what are you doing to get money?" He was like, "I have a little job at a shoe store." And he was like, "Well, that ain't gonna pay the rent." He said, "And then my girl's also holding me down."
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was in the shoe store working, he's, again, I think he was trying to do that straight and narrow.
Let's just, real fast talking about that. You know, there's a scene in the shoe store where this very, I don't know, older white woman comes into the store and she's just like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Because he has a couple of stacks of shoes in his hands. And, he's alarmed and has to say, "I work here." And I mean, she literally walks back, like, eyes on him, like, "I don't believe you." And like, saying, right.
She said, "What are you doing? And where is the...
where's your manager?
Where's
your
manager? Where's the associates that work here?" He goes, "I work here."
Yeah.
And then she grabs her purse and walks out like he's going to... Now, he's working in a shoe store. So that really...
and he makes a comment like, you want to think that what they tell you in terms of the shit being in your head, in terms of all these microaggressions and racism, but you get hit with it.
Yeah.
You get hit with it. Sometimes racism literally will smack you in the face. Yeah. Like,
that
people
was a
can
big
be so
microaggression.
Yeah, so racist, and she was very racist.
And he
in
said,
that
"You want to act like it doesn't exist, but it does exist. It's very prevalent." And that really hit home for me because I was like, wow.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, even going like to the Cherry Creek Mall when it first started, and like groups of preppy white kids following me through the mall. Like I was going to pick the goddamn mall up with my bare hands and steal it or something. Like, what are you guys going to do? But, we all get kind of hit with that, these microaggressions, as we'll call them. But yeah, that was an eye-opening moment because I think that was a moment that changed his perspective in terms of what am I doing? I'm never really going to get ahead here.
Exactly. Which is how it ties into to Stunna. That was a great tie-in. But that's interesting you said that about those microaggressions because I remember when I was working a long time ago and one of my colleagues, she was Hispanic, beautiful girl. And she goes, "Yeah, I'm going to Cherry Creek." And I said, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Yeah, I want to get these really nice Adidas." And so she goes, "But I got to go home and I got to change." And I said, "Why do you have to change?" She's like, "Because I don't want them thinking I'm going to steal." And I was like, what the? And I was like, so you're going to go home and put on your really nice clothes to go to Cherry Creek so people won't think you're a Mexican who steals.
Right.
Or Hispanic, Latina who steals.
Sure. At least
And
an upper-class Latina.
I just thought that was just crazy. But microaggressions are all over. I'm a very vocal person and I'm a dark-skinned black woman. And a lot of times they think, "Oh, she got the attitude." Or they come to me like, "Oh, LaDios, come on and speak for us." Like they don't have a voice because they want me to be the voice. You know what I'm saying? They want me to fight the fight.
I'm like, wow, that's offensive.
Yeah. I get this all the time. It's real. It's real. Like, you don't have a fucking voice? You can't speak for yourself? Well, we just need you to be our backbone. And I want to be like, you know what? Fuck you. You get your own voice. You find your own voice. And I'm not this, high-strung ghetto black girl.
Yeah.
Okay? Popping her neck like this. So, yeah. Just a little bit of, just add in a little personal stuff. What's your background?
My ethnic background?
Yeah.
I am black, obviously, on my father's side. And my mother is Hispanic, but my great-grandmother was Sioux Indian. So I'm like a quarter Native American. When I did my DNA, I'm a lot more Native American than I thought I was. So I'm like,
I can see that. Yeah.
So power to the people.
So, of course, I'm black and black and black. So do you feel like growing up biracial or multiracial that you had some challenges
Sure.
in your community?
Absolutely, and it's an interesting thing because I didn't grow up in the black community per se because my dad wasn't around, and I grew up with my Hispanic family in a very Hispanic borough of Colorado. So people again like you assuming things about you, like they'll be like, oh well, you know what it's like being in the hood, and I'm like, actually no, that's kind of anecdotal for me too. And I had my cousin who I hung out with like once in Park Hill. We went and sold crack. That was great. But like there were those kind of glimpses into life. But other than that, it wasn't my everyday life. We sold crack. We did. That was our night. We got ready for 3 hours, and I was like, "This is what we're doing." Okay, I thought we'd go dancing or something.
Did you guys do it on the east side?
No, Park Hill. Yeah, pretty much like right over MLK and
So did you grow up on the west side?
I grew up in Commerce City.
Okay,
so
Commerce City.
up north. And
So I didn't technically grow up here. But when I came here, I've been on the east side for most of the time. But when I was growing up, because this movie, oh my God, especially the one part where they were all in the streets and they were dancing. That brought back memories. And, back in the day, I ain't gonna lie, I liked the little thugs and the hardcore and the drug dealers. It was my thing, And I hung out with I didn't personally sell the crack, but
so I'm talking about the scene on the street with all the
Oh
cars.
my God.
Yeah.
Okay, oh my God, that's popping. That was popping. So, that's how we grew up. We had fun, and I always dated the big time drug dealers. I liked it. I liked being around them. That was that's nice. That's why we get along. But it was something that it watching that scene brought back some nostalgia because back then, even though it was kind of dangerous, because that was when the gangs were on the scene. There was a lot more communal. It was very communal. Yeah, you know what I mean. It was communal. You knew this is your neighborhood. This is a black neighborhood. This is, this is the Hispanic neighborhood. This is the white neighborhood. You knew, there was unhidden borders.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it was very communal and not necessarily healthy, but it was communal.
Sure.
And that brought back some nostalgia, but I really did enjoy that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to explain a little bit about your background so that people can understand where you come from, where what your exposure is to as a Black Latina Native American.
Super American.
Yeah. So what was your question? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, what did you think about the love relationship that went on with Malcolm? I'm sorry, Jakor and his love interest.
What was her name? Oh God.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Shantae.
Because
thank
you. Yeah, Shantae.
He called her Chantel.
Or Shanti.
No, it's Shantae.
Oh, it was Shanti.
Yeah, Shantae. Okay. But he called her Chantel or Shanti, and she didn't call him for 2 weeks because she's if you couldn't remember my name.
That's right.
Now, here's something. I can remember being that girl.
Right.
And I was a little triggered because what I didn't like is once T-Rex showed him that video.
Yeah, he
gets mad at her for something that happened. Who knows? It was pre him. It wasn't doing. And the fact that she says, "I know you're cheating on me, but I still stayed loyal to you." Did you catch that?
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, she says, "I know you've been cheating on me, but I have never stepped out on you." And then she goes, "That was pre me, and I told you I was wigging out,
because her brother died.
Her brother died, and it just says how much we're as women, especially Black women, we are so loyal to our man. Like we take a lot of stuff. We know they step out. We know they do drugs. We know they sell drugs. They know they have a side chick. They know they don't have a job. We still hold them down. We know even all the way to when he was in prison.
Sure.
She's still loyal to him, and it was a little triggering because it was like I'm not doing that no more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would, when I was young, I did that, but I wouldn't do that.
It's because it goes back to that statement, right? Slavery taught us how to survive, not to live.
Yep.
It teaches you to settle for less than what you actually deserve.
Exactly.
Right? Everybody deserves, somebody that's loyal and cares about you and all that, but we've been conditioned to settle for somebody that steps out and does all these things to us. And those kind of things. And we've also been conditioned to settle for so many things in terms of life and jobs and those kind of things, and the deeper you get into it, you know, the harder again it is to get out. Like I said, my cousin that I talked about, she ended up serving a murder rap.
Oh, wow.
And you know, she was a prime example to me, like what my life would have been had my dad raised me and not my mom, because you know, that's how I got out, just by the skin of my teeth, and I'm very consciously aware of that. You know that yeah. And
so you think something would be different if you would have been raised with your father? Did he live on he lived in
Absolutely. He lived on the east side, right over off of 34th in York. Yeah, and you know, the cousins that I had at that time, and yeah, just the exposure and what you end up getting into just again because you're associated with it, you know, like, yeah. And even going back to Commerce City, there was an incident where we took marijuana to school and a bunch of kids got suspended, and like 40 of them got suspended, and it was kind of my fault, whatever. But the police
I won't even ask you why it was your fault.
But the police labeled me the leader of the Bloods at that time. And I was 14 years old, and now I look back and I'm like, thank God I didn't get in any more trouble, because with that on my record, had I gotten one extra slip up, they would have had reason to put my ass behind bars for a good long time. So, you know, those kind of setups, like then I wasn't aware of that. And I remember asking the cop, the leader, what? I'm not the leader. Why are you putting that down there? And he was just like, shut up. Yeah, you know, like this is what you are. And yeah, it was, now I look back and like, damn, that was a fucking trap. Like, yeah, they were setting me up. Like, you know.
That's interesting. Yeah, I want to kind of share a little story, because we're talking about relationships. You were asking about the relationship, but I remember dating this guy, and he was a Crip. I dated Bloods too. I don't care. Hate me. You can't tell me who I can and can't date. I associate with who I want. But anyway, this is when I first got to Denver. I was young. I was 19, living on the edge. Didn't care. Like, I could have been in prison.
Sure.
But anyway, I knew they were drug dealers. And this was back when they had the big triple fat goose jackets and
I remember that.
Yeah, that was
the
good
big
times.
Old bomber
Woo, yeah. Now they call them. Now that my son calls them the puffy jackets.
The puppies.
Yeah, but I remember us going. I was new to Colorado, so I didn't know. But they lived up in Arvada, and they were going to Aurora. I didn't know where Aurora was because I was new. And my mom, who, ever since, my dad has always dated white guys from, you know, and so she does not live in the hood, and then, you know, she lives out, you know. So anyway, when I came here, she lived in Westminster, and this guy lived in like North Glen or Arvada. And so anyway, we were going to Aurora, and my mom always said, never go to Aurora. You know, this was, you're talking early 90s, so you can imagine.
Sure.
Anyway, we go to Aurora. And this was big time when, you know, driving, you can only have so many people in the car. And so we pulled in front of these Aurora apartments. I couldn't tell you where they were. And I had on my puffy jacket. And the cops come. They were doing, you know, driving black profiling. They were like, well, we got, you know, a description of these kind of guys. So they put a gun in my jacket, and he put the crack. He's like, hold this.
Oh, wow.
Now I'm hard. I'm cool. I do it. I don't care. What the hell they gonna, I mean, I really thought I was hard.
Yeah.
I really thought I was, you know what I'm saying?
Above the law.
Yes. I thought I just, I'm not kidding. This is how I knew.
young and dumb too.
No, I mean, every time I think about this, I get chills, and I think God had his hand on me.
I know that's right.
So, you know, they're getting all, and I'm stupid. They give me the drugs. They give me the gun. I don't know who they shot. I don't know where that gun went.
Sure.
So they're getting pat down. And it's like 3 of them and me. Girl. Well, of course, they can't pat me down because I'm female.
Because you're a girl. Yes.
And there's no female cop.
Right.
But the thing is how stupid I was to the loyalty of that guy.
Absolutely.
You know, that I was saying that if there was a
and
female
you knew
cop,
full well that, you know, you took the rap, you took the rap.
Yeah,
you know,
I would have went down,
him.
and I probably would be just getting out of prison right now. You know what I'm saying? I would probably be just getting out of prison right this minute. But you know, the loyalty, like you said, we settle, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be settling for anything like that again. But it was,
Definitely.
you know, this woman, you know, all he did after he had, you know, like belittled her for the video that had nothing to do with him, that was pre him.
Yeah.
After he had belittled her, he still came and knocked on her door.
And she just took him in with open arms.
Exactly. Yep. And, you know, and just like nothing ever happened after you, I mean, this dude took did you see, he took the dogs. He took the damn dogs.
So stupid.
She's like, give me my keys.
Yes.
He gave her the keys and he took both the dogs,
Yes.
cussed her out. And we're going to
so
pause
silly.
right here.
Well, actually,
we're going to pause and we're going to come right back. This is part 2.
Everybody get up. Everybody get up. I said, everybody get up.
And we're back.
Okay.
Part 3. So yeah, we were talking about how the loyalty of the Jakar's girlfriend, and how we were saying we won't settle for that, because again, that's something that's embedded in us. And you know, it's funny because white people don't do that. They're gonna be like, no, you're gonna get somebody that's equivalent to you. You have an Ivy League, background.
I guess so. I mean,
You know,
there's a upper echelon of white that will put up with being stepped out on, etc., because they know they're going to be afforded a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
And so I mean, it does go kind of both ways in some respects.
But I'm not even talking about.
But at least they're getting spoiled, right? You
yes,
know,
I'm talking about
the other side of
the
it,
financial.
Right?
Providing.
Yeah.
They're gonna get with somebody who's going to give them something, and they might do a little sacrifice. You all do sacrifices in relationships.
It's the sad thing about America right now, you know, in terms of relationships and sex, you know, it's like, especially with young people, and now I sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but that's where I'm at right now, because,
that's a whole other topic.
it's just, I mean, the way that they go into it, it's like, you know, you jump in so fast, instant relationship, and then there's a baby, and you know, you've all known each other all of 3 months, and that has success written all over it, right? You know, I mean, those kind of situations where it's like, of course they're going to move on, and of course there's going to be these, you know, and then that child, when we get to see the baby, it's behind bars. And that's the first visit. And gosh, the baby already looks a good 6 or 7 months old. And it's another child being born
and
without
he
his
didn't even
daddy.
recognize him.
And he cries, and it's like, who is this person?
What I don't
you know?
understand is, why are you laying down with somebody that you know whose future is very bleak? Like,
maybe it's because you feel like your future is just as bleak.
I mean,
you know,
why are you having a child with somebody who's running the streets?
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what do they have to offer you? Even if they're on big time, you know, like T-Rex and Stunner. What do they have to offer you? Why would you want to bring a child into that environment?
Well, and it comes down to self-worth, and you know, all of those things are judgment calls, right? And it's almost like I've told some people that'll be like, oh, well, people that are in that situation should make better decisions. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't make good decisions when you're in duress. You don't make good decisions when you are in arrested development, per se. You know, when you're having to be the mom to a messed up mom, and you know, you have all these other things befalling you. You know, it's really hard to ask people to make good, sound judgments. You know, it's hard to ask any sane person to make good, sound judgments out there, let alone somebody with all these barriers and struggles. And then you take into account that we are in this society where it's almost like sex is what follows a handshake. I mean, first time I got on Snapchat, I got like 50 show me your tits, and I'm like, who are these people? Why would I do that? Yes, I'm like, who are these people? Why would I do that? And it was very eye-opening to me, like, oh, you filth, blarb, and filth, you naughty children. But anyway,
I mean, that's just, but I mean, I'm sure that happens on IG too.
Oh,
but,
sure,
you know,
but but I'm just saying that, you know.
You mean you really didn't want to show them your tits?
I don't know you. Sorry.
But if you did. I love it. So let's go into the manipulation of the police. He was like, you remember how he says, these police act like they try to mimic what they see on TV.
Sure.
You know? And then how he got arrested. Now, wait a minute. He wasn't upscale neighborhood, and he was going to rob them. Remember?
But Lord, that arrest!
They got pulled over.
I'm sorry, but that arrest
while
wasn't
black.
that like. Didn't they come in almost military garb and just?
They tried to set him up.
But I mean, honestly, that final arrest when they come and hem him up and all of that.
I'm talking about the first one.
Oh,
the first one when he got pulled over because he was driving in. I forgot the name of the neighborhood, but it was an upscale neighborhood. Remember, he was gonna jack that girl's rims. And they got pulled. The cops pulled him and his boy over, and they took and got him arrested. He went in and he goes, "I don't even know why I'm arrested."
Okay.
He was on parole, and then he was like, "Yeah, your friend TK had dope in the back of his whip," and he goes, "I know TK never carries dope in the back of his whip."
Okay.
And he was
I
trying to
remember
manipulate,
that.
intimidate him,
Sure.
and he was like, "You got to give me something," and he's showing all these faces. He's showing
Right.
Stunna and T-Rex face.
Right.
He goes, "I don't know. Stunna.
Yeah,
I don't know these people.
Well,
I don't know
those two,
anything."
it shows prosecutorial misconduct, and the setups that the police do. Like one of the things that I've been saying about this recent tragedy with Ahmed is how long was that cop on the force and torturing people and putting them behind bars forever and maybe killing them, because obviously probably not the first time he's murdered, but anyways, that was an interesting part of the movie. Also,
well, how his mother came and her boyfriend bailed him out.
Yeah.
Now, I thought this was interesting because I was trying to figure out why did he get so angry
with the boyfriend.
Yeah, because his boyfriend said so you date white girls, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I think there was a little bit of jealousy going on.
I think
there was like that mother-son, like he was jealous of the new boyfriend, like you're choosing him over me. I told you to go get my stash and bail me out, and you got your new nigga, and so I think there was a little jealousy, but I was like, the way that he beat him was unnecessary.
To me, I think it all goes to maybe profiling someone that is not stable. Like he is.
I like that.
He's been dealing with so much violence and so much despair that he's really like, goddamn, fuck, like almost all the time. And it doesn't take anything to make him snap.
Yep.
So when he sees the video of his girlfriend, he doesn't think about when it happened. He doesn't think about any of these he just snaps.
Yep.
When he sees his mom with the girlfriend and he disrespects him, he doesn't think about it. He just snaps, and he's just, the boyfriend and him talking about him dating white girls. He just snaps on him, right?
Because that violence started when he was young.
And
that's all he's been seeing
and
in
that's
the
all that he
neighborhood.
knows how to respond. That's how he knows how to respond
he has like
to
this
life.
Bottled up anger that
So
he
much
has
anger.
nowhere to direct. And remember when he went to go see T-Rex, or no, I'm sorry, Stunna to his house, and they had checked a car and there's guns and everything.
God, yeah,
and then he pulls over. That was a great scene, and he just like tears are welling up in his eyes, and
like
the
why
anger
do I
is
have
like
to go through that?
Why am I living here? But wait.
Wow.
I want to roll back a little bit because his brother, was that his brother Lamont that was in the wheelchair?
I believe it was, and that was the little brother. They show him in the beginning, and he's like, "I'm going to get out of here." And then he has the resolve. I'm not going to do these gangs or drugs. I'm going to get out of here, and he goes to the war and loses his body, basically.
But then JQ says something that reminds me of the crabs in the barrel. He goes, "Why y'all always trying to leave?" He goes, "Why you always trying to leave? Because you're gonna come back.
Yeah.
And
that hopeless despair.
Yeah, and then it just tells you how you really can be a product of your environment if you don't have anything around you to give you some hope. Because he did say the best way to stay alive is to know your light, stay loyal, and close to hope. And I think that was from Jakar. Sure. There's no hope.
No,
and that guy even JQ says he goes, white people. How did he put it? He said, white people. I cannot remember. I don't want to misquote, but he was saying something to the extent like they don't care about you. To us, white people think we're worthless, but that wasn't the words he used. He goes, but I'm a predator. He goes, I'm the predator. So this person has flipped this script, and it's like by any means necessary. I'm
Yeah.
going to do whatever I can to
Sure.
survive.
Yeah, he's become the big monster that they're
Yeah.
all afraid of, right? He's
Yes.
like, instead of
yes.
like, I'm going to try to get out, no,
Mhm.
I'm going to be what you told me I am.
Yeah, and that's when he said
you're
this.
going to be afraid of me.
Mhm.
And what was it? What
He
power
said-
do we have if we're just someone else's boogeyman?
Yep, that's what
Um,
Jakar said.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, what power
So,
do we have if we're just someone
one
else's
thing that this
boogeyman?
is making me think of is when I was in college, I did a paper on affirmative action for one of my finals. And the astounding figure that I came up with was that only 1 to 2% of Hispanics and Blacks even make the grades to apply for scholarship and go to college. 1 to 2%. Even make the grades. And that goes to the fact that when you're in that environment, you have other people, including your peers, when you have those big dreams telling you to shut the fuck up, you ain't going to be nothing. This is where you are, and this is where you're always going to be. So, you know, when you do see that Black success story, my God, do they deserve all the acclaim and, you know, because they've gone through that much more to get there, including getting those negative voices out of your head that are questioning whether or not, you know.
Do you think
can
that
do it.
percentage has changed thus far in 2020? Because I know my daughter went, you know, she's Latina and Black. She went to a school with Latinas and Latinos and Blacks.
Sure.
And there was, of course, other races, but they really, you could not graduate unless you got accepted into a college.
Sure.
The structure of this school, and this is DSST, which I love that school. They made sure that you had to write and get scholarships and to get education. And by the way, we grew up on the East Side. So I always think it starts in the family. So do you think that percentage has changed? Because
that percentage was in 1999.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think it would, especially with Hispanics. But you also have to remember with the Black populace, we're only 13% of the population as a whole. So when you're taking national statistics into account, I don't know if Blacks are above the 1% mark because there's just so few of us to begin with, and that number is going to be probably a little bit lower.
That all depends on who participates in the census too. Because I got the census, I didn't participate. I mean, and a lot of people, they base it off of who does the census. If you don't do the census, you don't really have accurate numbers. Right. So because I think there's such all I know is in Colorado, there's such a stellar presence of Blacks and Latinas that are very successful, very big business owners. They're successful,
here. But I'll tell you what, girl, when I travel to other states, I'm shocked by how few Black people there are. So, I mean, every place else has more Black people than Colorado. So I tend to disagree.
Whoa, wait. Black people there's a big population.
There are, but I'm just saying, like, it ain't like going to North Carolina. And it ain't like, you know, like there's Florida. It ain't like, you know.
Here's the problem.
It's definitely better than Montana. It's definitely better, but like California, no, there's a lot more Blacks.
Well, here's the thing. There might be more Blacks, but we have a big population of Blacks. The problem is we don't have a community of Blacks. Like when in the 90s, all of the East Side, the 5 Points was a community, but now we're so spread out all the way from Colorado Springs and down to Pueblo, all the way up to Vail, there's Black people. The thing is we don't have a collective, like when you come to Colorado, the first thing people not from Colorado is like, where's a Black neighborhood?
Well,
where
is the Black neighborhood? Yeah, because
they're here. They're just,
you know, like there used to be a 5 Points. That's no more. You know, like I don't know. We won't. Let's not argue whether or not statistics are right. But
we're not arguing. we're having a conversation.
Yes, we're
but
debating.
we're just saying that. Like for me, I think the statistics are different in the senses. If you're not doing the census, you can't have accuracy. But going back to what we were talking about, the boogeyman, and how JQ said he's a predator. And then this leads into, because we're trying to find out why Jakar killed Malcolm.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then we go into a big spotlight, I'd say, on JD and his drug abuse.
Yeah.
And you find out that JD is kind of one of the worst cokeheads in the neighborhood. And Jakor witnesses him murder someone in cold blood.
That was traumatic.
I think that traumatized Jakor in a lot of ways. Yeah, that was unnerving to watch, and the subtext behind it, I think the guy says something like, I'm not giving up my rent money so you can get high, and then pop, pop, pop. So that, like, wow, that says a lot about someone's character, about, you know, just, yeah, and that's supposed to be
Do
your
you think
dad.
that was him, or you think that was the drugs, or a combination of both?
Combination of both, you know, I mean,
That
you
was-
know, I agree to some extent, you know, like, you know, you can't, you know, like, oh, they're on whatever substance, so they can't be so accountable. But
They have
at
to
the
take
end of the day,
accountable
they're
for his
still,
choices.
yeah,
Yeah.
you did it. You're the one that
So
did it.
basically, when he sees his dad get shot, shoot whoever owes him money in cold blood, the dynamics change, and this ties into why he kills Malcolm.
Yes.
So he's on the playground playing at school, and a little girl comes up and says, "Hey, I heard your dad is a crackhead,
or the biggest cokehead in the city, or something like that.
Yeah, he's a cokehead." And he's like, "You don't even know my dad." He said, "But my cousin so and so does." So
and he drives a Cadillac.
yeah, very distinct that he drives a Cadillac. So anyhow, with that, he goes and he
follows his dad.
Sees him purchase the drugs, and guess who's selling the drugs?
Malcolm. So yeah, so
that was the tie-in of him wanting to kill Malcolm, because he did confront him and ask him not to sell drugs to his father.
Yes.
And
cute
Malcolm
little
said,
8-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And Malcolm says,
he's
my best customer. My best customer, kid.
That was really, it was really
heartbreaking.
It was very heartbreaking, because here's this kid pleading to this drug dealer, or just to another human being, like, please stop.
You're destroying my life.
And
right?
even if he stopped, his dad probably would have got it from someone else, but it would have showed some type of loyalty to the community, or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Because one thing he said is, in there was a quote where he talked about loyalty. Loyalty is currency. You know? And I thought that was interesting. But that was the tie-in of why Jakor killed Malcolm.
Yes. So it was fantastic.
This
movie.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Very good choice.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of Rav'n. We hope you enjoyed our review. You have any last minute closing remarks?
Hey, just follow us, subscribe, comment below, and like I said, watch this film. I'm Rav'n Moon, an actress with passion.
I'm LaDios Muhammad. I'm actors with purpose. Remember, you don't have to dream. You don't have to be asleep to dream. So get up and get out and do something for yourself. We are actors from the dark side.